What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing, and today I'm going to be predicting the outcome of Hector Flores versus Sivenathi Nontshinga, and this is going to be a 12-rounder for the Vacant IBF Light-Flyweight World Championship, and this fight is going to be Saturday, September 3rd, from the Hermosillo Arena in Hermosillo, Mexico, and this fight is going to be broadcasted on DAZN. And to get into both fighters' resumes, Hector Flores, fighting out of Mexico, holds a record of 20 wins with no defeats and 4 draws, with 10 wins coming by way of knockout. He is currently ranked number 12 by BoxRec in the light flyweight division, and to list all 4 of his draws and some of his best wins, he has a split decision draw against Alexander Santiago, he has a majority decision draw against Efrain Gonzalez, and he has a points draw against Ricardo Noriega, and he also has another points draw against Francisco Medivil. But to list some of his best victories, he has a unanimous decision win over Juan Diego Tadeo. He also has a knockout win over former world title challenger Jay Harris, and he also has a split decision victory over Jose Ramirez Armeta. But to get his opponent's resume, Sivenathi Nontshinga, fighting out of South Africa, holds an outstanding record on paper of 10-0 with 9 big wins coming by way of knockout. He is currently not ranked by BoxRec in the light flyweight division due to inactivity. However, to list some of his best wins, he has a knockout win over Setso Modisafidi. Sorry if I pronounced his name incorrectly. He also has a knockout win over Mushkin Kizota. He also has a knockout win over Adam Yahaya. He also has a stoppage win over Siyabunga Siyo. He has a knockout win over Ivan Soriano. And he has a unanimous decision victory in a grueling fight over Christian Arneta. So in that Arneta fight, Nontshinga got dropped in the last round, and it was a very tight fight that one judge had it a 1-point fight and the other two had it a 3-point fight. But it really was competitive and could have went either way. But in my opinion, this fight was really, really hard to predict. I think this is a 50-50 fight. Both these guys, high rated in the light flyweight division, they're rising unbeaten fighters. But I just think that Sivenathi Nontshinga will just get the nod in this fight. Even though this fight's in Mexico, in the home country of Flores, that's why I think this fight was really hard to predict as well. But I just think that Nontshinga will get the nod in this fight. And I know both these guys hit fairly hard. Even though Flores only has 10 knockouts, he's a very, very good, brutal body puncher. He could come forward and hit to the body very, very well. He primarily comes forward in his fights. He's got a very tough and rugged style that comes forward and pressures his opponents. But for Nontshinga also likes to come forward a bit, but he's a bit more technical than Flores. He has a little bit of pep in his step where he has very solid footwork, bouncing up and down. He can counterpunch very well as well. So I think that he will be the one that's trying to land bigger and better counterpunches from like mid-range in this fight. But I think that Flores will primarily be the one coming forward, utilizing that Mexican style with the pressure and the body punches. But I think this fight, like I said before, will be edged in favor of Nontshinga. But even though Nontshinga has 9 knockouts, even though he has 9 knockouts, I don't think that he will be getting the stoppage in this fight. I think that this fight will go the distance, and he will get a razor-thin decision in this fight. So just to break this fight down round by round, I think that the earlier rounds, like the first half of this fight, will be primarily in favor of Nontshinga. I think that the first 3 rounds will be fairly competitive, but I think that the first round might go in favor of Flores. Flores might come forward very solidly, land some nice body shots on Nontshinga while he tries to get sort of into the fight, trying to put in his rhythm in this fight. But I think that Flores will edge the first round, but then I think rounds 2 and 3 will be in favor of Nontshinga, as I think he'll start to land the bigger and better counter punches from mid-range. He'll start to just land the better shots on Flores, but I think the rounds will be very competitive. However, I think in rounds 4 and 5, I could definitely see Flores landing some nice shots coming forward to the body, but yet again, I think that it will be the nice work at mid-range from Nontshinga that might get the judges the nod, but it could be very, very close. Some of those rounds could go either way, like round 4 or 5 could go either way, but I think they will be very competitive. I think in round 6, in 7, I think round 6 and 7 will probably go in favor of Nontshinga. I think that Nontshinga will start to land some nice shots in the outside in the middle rounds, and I think that he'll do very, very solidly in those rounds. But like I said, some of those earlier rounds in the first half could be very, very competitive and very, very close. So, like, after 7 rounds, the scorecards could read 68-65, most likely for Nontshinga. Maybe, just maybe, 67-66 for Nontshinga. But yet again, this fight is in Mexico. It is in Flores' home country, so usually the judges in Mexico do have a nod, obviously, for the Mexican fighter. But, yeah, I think that in round 8 and 9, I think they'll start to go more in favor of Flores. I think that Flores will start to land some of his own offense, but I think that Nontshinga will battle back in rounds 10, maybe 11, but I think that rounds 8 and 9 will be also very competitive, and I think that Flores might win those rounds, might edge them very close, but they still could go either way. But since I think they will be close, they'll probably go in favor of Flores, being that he's from Mexico. But I think that in rounds 10, 11, and 12, they could be very, very competitive. Like I said, this entire fight, their rounds will be very, very competitive. But I think that Nontshinga might, even though in his last fight he got dropped in the 12th round and struggled late, I think in this fight, it might be a little bit of a turnaround here. I think that they will be very competitive rounds, that Flores might actually edge in this fight. But like I said, I think this will be a very close fight. Like I said before, I think that Nontshinga will edge it close on points. But I think that those late rounds, like 10, 11, and 12, will be vital for the winner of this fight. And they could go either way, to be 100% honest. If Nontshinga applied himself better in those middle rounds, like let's say he could have edged, like I think I'm pretty sure I said that Flores might edge rounds 4 and 5. Like let's say Nontshinga boxed very well in 4 and 5, then it could set him up for the later rounds for him being ahead pretty comfortably. But then in those later rounds, Flores might have bursts of offense and think that he needs to win this fight. He needs to push on the gas pedal and start to land bigger and better shots on Nontshinga. So those late rounds could go either way, 10, 11, and 12. But I think they might most likely go in favor of Flores. But I mean, it's really depending, I think, on those early to middle rounds, because I think those will be the most competitive rounds. I think late they might be close and competitive, but I think that they will be clear for Flores. There's definitely fights that are competitive but clear, and I think those rounds will be pretty competitive, but I think they will be clear for Flores, those rounds in 10, 11, and 12. But, I think the later rounds will go more in favor of Flores. The middle rounds might be edged more for Nontshinga, but those earlier rounds, like from rounds 1 to rounds 5, they might be pretty competitive. Like from rounds 1 to rounds 4, they'll be pretty competitive, and those will be the deciding rounds. But based on Nontshinga's counterpunching style that I think he will be applying in this fight, although he comes forward a lot in his other fights, I think he will adjust to a nice solid counterpunching style at mid-range, and I think he will be landing the sharper shots in this fight. That even though this fight is in Mexico, I think the judges will give him a very slight nod, and I think that he will edge this fight by a split decision. And I think that in those later rounds, based on Flores' body punching, I could definitely see Nontshinga getting dropped in this fight once, maybe. But that's just a maybe. I don't think it's going to for sure happen, but I could definitely see it happening in this fight. So don't count out if Nontshinga gets dropped and he still gets the nod on the judges' scorecards. So yeah, I think this fight will go the distance, and like I said before, I think that Nontshinga will get a split decision victory in this fight. And I think that the judges will score this bout 115 or 113 for Nontshinga twice, and maybe like 115, 113 for Flores once. So comment down below how you think this fight will go. I mean, this is probably the best fight on this card in Mexico. Maybe the best fight of this day on Saturday, obviously. But it's a very competitive fight. It's a very underrated fight between two undefeated fighters challenging for a world title. So yeah, like I said, comment down below who you think is going to win and by what method of victory. So overall, I believe that Sivenathi Nontshinga will defeat Hector Flores by split decision to become the new IBF Light-Flyweight World Champion. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.